And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the video you've all been waiting for, Punctuating Dialogue, Part 3. In this tutorial, I am going to show you how to punctuate dialogue when the tagline becomes in the middle of dialogue. So when you put a tagline in between some dialogue, so there's dialogue before the tagline and there's dialogue after the tagline. There's two basic ways you can do that. The first option is when you insert a tagline after a complete sentence. So let's take a look at an example. "Let's do some dialogue," said Mr. McCormick. "It will be fun." So we're going to take a look at this in two parts. Let's take a look first at "Let's do some dialogue," said Mr. McCormick. So the first thing you need to notice about this is that "let's do some dialogue" is a complete sentence. It's a complete thought. I know it's a complete thought because of that exclamation point. I might also know it because there'd be a question mark, but you could also have a comma. It basically depends on whether that's a complete thought or not. And when you have this situation, you'll notice that the rules are going to be the same as when you have a tagline after dialogue. So that video number 2, the rules are going to be the same. And by that I mean you're going to have a piece of punctuation separating the dialogue from the tagline. That punctuation can be a comma, an exclamation point, or a question mark, and it's going to go inside the quotation marks. In addition, you're going to have a piece of end punctuation after the tagline. That end punctuation is going to be a period. So essentially you have one sentence. It's "Let's do some dialogue," said Mr. McCormick. So that's how you're going to punctuate that first part of the dialogue when your tagline comes after a complete sentence. If we take a look at the other part of our dialogue, you'll notice that since I've ended a sentence at McCormick with that period, the next letter, or the next word in the quotation marks has to be capitalized because it's starting a new sentence. And you should also notice that I'm going to have some end punctuation inside the quotation marks after the second part of the dialogue. That end punctuation can be a period, a question mark, or an exclamation point. It will never be a comma. And it's going to go inside the quotation marks. So that's option 1 for putting a tagline in the middle of dialogue. Here's option 2. Sometimes you plop a tagline in the middle of a sentence. And here's what I mean by that. "Hey everyone," said Mr. McCormick, "let's do some grammar." Well, if we take a look at this, you'll notice that "hey everyone" isn't really a complete thought. It's not a complete sentence. And so essentially I have one long sentence here with my tagline thrown in between. And here's how I pull that off. The first thing you'll notice is that since I don't have a complete sentence before the tagline, I'm not going to end the sentence after the tagline. Instead, I'm going to continue the sentence with a comma. So where I would normally put a period, I'm going to put a comma, and that's going to indicate, hey, that previous sentence that I started with "hey everyone" is now going to continue. You should also notice that since I have one long sentence, "hey everyone, let's do some grammar," "let's," that next word in the quote, is not going to be capitalized. Because again, I'm not starting a new sentence. This is all one long sentence. So that's kind of the differences that happen when your dialogue before the tagline is not a complete sentence. You're going to continue that sentence by replacing the period with a comma and not capitalizing the next word in the quotation marks. Everything else stays the same. Let's see what you learned. You're going to pause the video, take a look at these 4 sentences, and decide which one you think is correctly punctuated. And here we go. So let's take a look at A. "Let's do some grammar," Mr. McCormick said. "It'll be fun." What I'm noticing about that is that "let's do some grammar" is a complete sentence. And I know that because of the exclamation point after grammar. That's screaming to me, hey, I am a complete sentence. I have end punctuation. What that means is that my tagline is coming after a complete sentence. And so this comma here should be a period. I should be ending the sentence there. And the word it should be capitalized. So that piece of punctuation is not correctly punctuated. Let's take a look at B. I know, Mr. McCormick said. Let's do some grammar. So I'm looking at that and I'm noticing I know that could be a complete sentence, but it's probably not. And my suspicions are confirmed when I see that there's a comma there, and also there's a comma after said. So that means the situation I have here is that I put a tagline in the middle of a sentence. Not after a complete sentence, but in the middle of one sentence. So I know let's do some grammar should be one sentence. If that's the case, let's should not be capitalized. Because I'm not starting a new sentence there, I'm just continuing the sentence I started with, I know. So that piece of punctuation is not correctly punctuated. C, however, is correctly punctuated. Let's do some grammar. Mr. McCormick said, it'll be fun. I have a comma separating grammar from the tagline. I've ended my tagline with a period, so I know it's a complete sentence. I've started the next word of my quotation with a capital letter, and I've got end punctuation after fun. Let's take a look at I know, Mr. McCormick said. Let's do some grammar. I'm sure you're noticing now that the problem here is the word let's. Since I ended a sentence after said, I need to make sure that let's is capitalized because it is the first word of a new sentence. Congratulations, you've now successfully watched all 3 parts of punctuating dialogue.